Yeah. Yo. Welcome back to Son of a Preacher Man. As always, I am your host, the Soap Man. Yo, now I've been eagerly anticipating this episode, so if you new to this channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And with that, we just gonna jump right off into it now. If you remember, in my last episode, we talked about Samson being God's puppet. Do you remember that old movie by Nicole Kidman? It was called To Die For. It was where she played this like wannabe news reporter that was trying to come up, and she used a young high school student played by Joaquin Phoenix to do her dirty work. The dirty work was killing her husband. Joaquin Phoenix's character in this movie, To Die For, he was Nicole Kidman's puppet. And you know, I was watching a bunch of episodes of the first 48 yesterday and today, and I noticed there was a whole lot of puppeteering going on. I was like, dang, I wish I would have included this on my video, you know what I mean? But it was a little too late. It was already recorded and done. But anywho, I just thought I'd add that in today's episode, which is a perfect segue. Ladies and gentlemen, Son of a Preacher Man presents to you the Book of Judges, Part 7, Samson, one-man army. Now, I told you I was trying to set it up to get to this, you know what I mean, a while ago. Because this is a very significant point in Samson's life. Reflecting back, doing a quick recap, if we go back to the last episode, Samson was going to his wife's wedding and he encounters a ravenous lion that the Bible says roars against him, and he kills this lion lickety-split. Comes back to visit the lion, finds honey in the carcass, and he takes some and eats it, gives it to his parents to take and eat. Now, the significant part about this, other than the fact that he's just broke Nazirite law and indirectly caused his parents to break Nazirite law, that's besides the point, because this encounter with the lion gives Samson an idea. At his bachelor party, he puts forth a riddle. He makes a wager with the guests at his bachelor party, 30 men. And he gets an idea from, his encounter with the lion. It's really, Samson is trying to get over. He bets them 30 sheets, because it's 30 of the people. It's 30 of the men he's betting. He bets them 30 sheets and 30 new outfits that they can't guess his riddle. And it's really a rigged, lousy riddle, because nobody would possibly know the answer unless they were with Samson when he killed the lion. But they take it on anyway. So Samson is really trying to come up at his guest's expense for his wedding. But they end up threatening his wife to tell them the answer to the riddle. And she does it. Now that's a pattern, because it's a precursor to what's coming for Samson. This is going to haunt him in the future. They guess the riddle. He knows they've cheated him, but he still feels compelled to, pay up. So his resolve is to go to the nearby Philistine city of Ashkelon, murder 30 innocent individuals, steal their clothes, rob them to pay his debt. And so that's what we pick up in today's episode. Samson, one-man army. So still going back to the last episode, finishing up on this recap, Judges chapter 14 and 16 says, "And Samson's wife wept before him and said, Thou dost but hate me, and lovest me not. Thou hast put forth a riddle unto the children of my people, and hast not told it me. And he said unto her, Behold, I have not told it my own father and my mother, and shall I tell it thee? You know, this is this back and forth between Samson and his fiancée. And she wept before him the 7 days, while the feast lasted. And it came to pass on the 7th day that he told her, because she lay sore upon him. This is a pattern. This is going to come back to haunt Samson later. This lust for foreign Philistine women, and giving in to them when they annoy him and nag him to death. It says, and the men of the city said unto him on the 7th day, before the sun went down, what is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion? And he said not them, if ye had not plowed with my heifer, ye had not found out my riddle. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon him. But Samson doesn't wow out his resolve, and he went down to Ashkelon and slew 30 men of them, and took their spoil, and gave change of garments unto them which expounded the riddle. And his anger was kindled, and he went up to his father's house. Here's the key part that we starting off in this episode. I have it in big, bold, red print. I'm excited. It says, but Samson's wife was given to his companion, whom he had used as his friend. Folks, that's what we pick up today at. Samson gets in a dispute. This riddle gone wrong. This come up that he has gone wrong at his bachelor party. It's escalated unto the point where it's more than a heated altercation. 30 innocent men have lost their lives. The situation has in fact become akin to a tinderbox at a 4th of July event. The tension is palpable. The inevitable ignition and subsequent explosion of that tinderbox, predictable. It's not hard to see what's going to happen. Remember the patterns we talked about, the puppet strings that God used to manipulate Samson, his strength, his temper, his lust for foreign Philistine women. So let's keep all that in mind. It says, and also keep in mind is this is all being orchestrated by an unseen hand. The Bible says that this is of God, and no one knows how to work Samson's puppet strings better than God. What started off as a simple crush on a Philistine woman in Timnath has evolved, and it eventually evolved into a scam by way of a riddle. An opportunistic come up that Samson thought, he was going to be clever and come up off these 30 individuals and get 30 new outfits. Mix in a little ego, and this thing has snowballed into bloodshed. Things are heating up pretty fast. This situation is getting to the point where it's reaching a boiling point. It ain't quite there. It's pretty much there. The water is starting to boil. The only problem is this situation is going to get much worse before it gets better. How much worse can it possibly get, do you ask? The simple answer, a lot. So Samson produces, he fulfills his end of the bargain. Hope he washed the blood stains out of the clothes first. But it's important to Samson for some reason. It's important to him, even feeling as though he's been betrayed. It's important to him. He says, hey, you figured out the riddle. I'm going to hold up my end of the bargain. Here's the outfits in the sheet, the 30 outfits in the sheets. Judges chapter 15 verses 1 through 6 reads, but it came, now mind you, after Samson coughs up the goods, the Bible says, and his anger was kindled, and he went up to his father's house. Samson leaves, and he's pouting. He leaves though, and he's gone for a while. And the last line says, but Samson's wife was given to his companion whom he had used as his friend. We know two things. We know Samson loves foreign Philistine women. He was in love with this woman. He asked his father to get her for marriage. We know one more thing. Samson has a temper, and he doesn't know that his wife has been given away to another man, his friend. It says, but it came to pass, Judges chapter 15 verses 1 through 6 says, but it came to pass within a while after, in the time of the wheat harvest. By the way, side note, folks, we talking about at least a month after the initial falling out. Samson leaves and he's gone for at least a month, possibly a couple, possibly 2 or 3 months. It's Judges chapter 15 verses 1 through 6 reads, but it came to pass within a while after, in the time of the wheat harvest, that Samson visited his wife with a kid. And he said, I will go in to my wife into the chamber. But her father would not suffer him to go in. And her father said, I verily thought that thou hadst utterly hated her. Therefore I gave her to thy companion. Is not her younger sister fairer than she? Take her, I pray thee, instead of her. And I got in big bold red print, it says, and Samson said concerning them, now shall I be more blameless than the Philistines, though I do them a displeasure. And Samson went and caught 300 foxes, and took firebrands, and turned tail to tail, and put a firebrand in the midst between the two tails. And when he had set the brands on fire, he let them go into the standing corn of the Philistines, and burnt up both the shocks and also the standing corn with the vineyards and olives. Then the Philistines said, who hath done this? And they answered, Samson, the son-in-law of the Timnite, because he had taken his wife and given her to his companion. And the Philistines came up and burnt her and her father with fire. Now let's unpack. Let's unpack what we just read, because it is heavy, heavy. Samson goes home, and after a month or two, he returns to his wife's door wanting a screw. I mean, I hate to put it to you just like that, but that's look, this is how I want you to get an understanding of how, I want you to get an understanding of how obnoxious this dude is. This dude disappears, pouts for a month or 2 or maybe 3, shows back up to what he thinks is his fiance, or I don't even know if the marriage was even consummated. Obviously it wasn't, because he left in a fit of rage. He done killed 30 people. Maybe he left because, he knew, people was going to be after him, or that was going to, raise like all hell. You just killed 30 innocent people. But this man comes back a couple months later wanting to screw. So his father-in-law says, man, that ship has sailed. I married her off to your friend. We haven't seen you. We haven't heard from you. I didn't know what to do. So Samson learns that his fiance has been married off to his companion. He is obviously pissed. Never mind the fact that he's been gone for a month or so. He's on a temper tantrum for a month or so and just shows up one day demanding to sleep with his wife. This says a lot about Samson, and listen to what he says. He's mad, but he doesn't fly off into a rage. He issues a warning. In Samson's mind, the Philistines have wronged him to the point where he feels that he is justified in retaliating in whatever way suits his fancy. For Samson, the gloves are about to come off. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Okay? But Samson he doesn't fly off into a rage. He says, I'm determined to beat the Philistines at their own game. They think they're smart. I'm going to show them smart. They think they low down. I'm going to show them. That's the attitude Samson takes. And he has immersed himself in this test of who can stoop the lowest, this contest between him and the Philistines of who can more cleverly, and more underhandedly slight the other party. And he is determined to show the Philistines that they cannot mistreat him and get away with it. So, in order to get back at the Philistines, Samson does something very clever. He catches 300 foxes and pairs them in two, so that's 150 pairs. He ties a firebrand between the tails of each pair and lights the firebrands and releases the foxes into the cornfields and vineyards of the Philistines, destroying acres upon acres of crops, mostly corn and vineyards. The fire is so bad and the damage is so severe that the Philistines will not be able to regrow or replace their losses. They cannot recoup their losses, because the time now is the time of the harvest. You should have already planted what you was going to plant. Now it's time to reap what you sow and collect the benefits. So they're not going to be able to replant, regrow, and replace their losses, therefore recoup their money. It's gone. Crops at this time in history were people's livelihood. They meant everything. Crops were not only a source of food for family, but they were a source of food for a family's livestock as well. Crops are also a source of income. Your income is in your crops and in your livestock. And Samson has just snatched that all away from them in one fell swoop. So with this act, Samson has made himself enemy number one of the Philistines. He has just pissed off some very wealthy people. And if he hadn't already pissed off a lot of people when he murdered those 30 innocent people for their outfits, he has just burned swaths upon swaths of land. And that land is owned by wealthy people. So something happens that I do not believe Samson anticipated. The Philistines retaliate. They start questioning who did this. And when they find out it was Samson and that he has a wife and a father-in-law in the city of Timnath, in the town of Timnath, they retaliate against his fiance and father-in-law, burning them down, burning their house down, killing them. And I don't think Samson anticipated that. But where Samson may had been livid before, now his fiance and father-in-law are dead, and there is no chance of giving them back. I'm just showing you a couple different slides. If you see in this slide right here, he has like a kind of wishbone type of device attached to the two foxes, and the firebrand is at the end of it. And then in this next slide, he's literally got the fox's tails tied to the actual firebrand. So just a couple of ideas, because people can't make up their mind, how all this stuff actually happened. So I just want to show a couple different slides to give you a couple different ideas of how Samson could have accomplished this sabotage, this massive sabotage. I mean, you think about it, 150 pairs of foxes, that is going to do a significant and severe amount of damage. And just another highlight, later in life, Genghis Khan, the Mongol warlord, he would employ similar tactics using animals, like to invade, his enemies' territories and camps and villages and stuff like that. He did stuff, Samson, this act by Samson reminds me of like some of Genghis Khan's warlord and battle strategies and tactics. So just a couple different slides to give you a couple different ideas of how that may have went down. Judges chapter 15 verses 7 through 13 reads, and now Samson has just learned, see how this is escalating. It starts off as a friendly riddle where he's really trying to get over. He's already slighted and mad enough to where he murders 30 people because he feels he's cheated, goes off in a rage and tantrum, stays gone pouting for a little while, comes back. It just gets worse. Now he finds out that his wife has been married, his fiance has been married off to his friend. His friend is up with his lady that he loved. Oh my God, dog. I wish I could put this in street terms, but I know I got older people watching. But dude, you know what I'm trying to say? His boy is with his fiance. Samson is livid. He throws a fit, starts burning stuff down. Now he's acting out. He just pissed off a lot of people. So now Samson has just found out that the people he pissed off have retaliated and killed his wife. Judges chapter 15 verses 7 through 13 reads, "And Samson said unto them, Though ye have done this, yet will I be avenged of you, and after that I will cease." Listen again to what Samson tells the Philistines. He says, "Though ye have done this, yet will I be avenged of you, and after that I will cease." What he's saying is, I'm going to get the last lick in this conflict. Period. And then I'll let it go. What he's saying is, I'm going to win this conflict. Let it go. Let me get the last lick. This is like strike 2. No, this is like strike 3. Strike 1 was playing him on the riddle. Strike 2 was marrying off his fiance. Strike 3 was killing her. So this is strike 3. There are no more strikes. Samson is, and I might add, still calmly telling the Philistines, I'm going to get the last lick. I'm getting the last lick and let it be done. You better chill. Let me win is what he is in essence telling them. Let me get the last lick and let it go. That is your best bet. So let me keep reading. It says, "And Samson said unto them, Though ye have done this, yet will I be avenged of you." Let me get the last lick. Let me get my revenge. And after that, I will cease. It goes on to say, "And he smote them hip and thigh with a great slaughter. And he went down and dwelt in the top of the rock Etam. Then the Philistines went up and pitched in Judah, and spread themselves in Lehi. And the men of Judah said, Why are ye come up against us? And they answered, To bind Samson are we come up, to do to him as he hath done to us. Then 3,000 men of Judah went to the top of the rock Etam, and said to Samson, Know thou not that the Philistines are rulers over us? What is this that thou hast done unto us? And he said unto him, As they did unto me, so have I done unto them. And they said unto him, We are come down to bind thee, that we may deliver thee into the hands of the Philistines. And Samson said unto them, Swear unto me, that ye will not fall upon me yourselves. And they spake unto him, saying, No, but we will bind thee fast, and deliver thee into their hand. But surely we will not kill thee. And they bound him with 2 new cords, and brought him up from the rock. They bound him with 2 new cords. Now, if you've been watching my episodes, you've seen this story before, and you know how it ends. But let me unpack what we just read. Okay? So the Bible says, after Samson issues the warning, he smites them with a very great slaughter. Here's the final pattern that I'm going to give you. Let's go through them real quick. Here's the pattern. Samson is strong. That pattern is also a puppet string. Here's a pattern. Pattern number 2. Samson has a temper that doubles over as a puppet string. Pattern number 3. Samson likes foreign Philistine women. That doubles over as a puppet string. Now, another puppet string that's not a pattern was the lion. Another puppet string that was not a pattern was the lion. Another pattern that is not a puppet string is that Samson snaps and commits a very great slaughter. Let me say that again. We have patterns and puppet strings. The first pattern and puppet string is Samson has a temper. The second pattern and puppet string is that Samson is really strong. The third pattern and puppet string is that Samson likes foreign Philistine women. Now, a puppet string that is not a pattern was the lion. It pushed Samson in a specific direction. A pattern that is not a puppet string is that Samson Hulk smashes things when those puppet strings are manipulated in a certain way, get him mad enough, get him strong enough, and he goes all Hulk smash and commits a very great slaughter. Another pattern is that Samson's foreign women that he likes, when they nag him to death, he gives up the goods. We are going to see all these elements replayed out again. That's why I'm taking the time to go over them. But moving on, after it says Samson commits a very great slaughter, we don't know exactly what that means. But he tears when he finds out that his wife is dead, he kicks up dust in Timnath. So whatever that means, it says hip, and let's read it again. It says, and he smote them hip and thigh with a great slaughter. What that could possibly mean, I have no idea. So after this occurs, he doesn't go home. Samson is no idiot. This dude is no buffoon. He doesn't go home and where he could potentially endanger his family. He goes off into hiding into the mountains. The Bible says he goes and hides out at the top of the rock of Etam in the mountains. He knows, he is very cognizant of the intricate details of what's happening. He is using foresight. He is anticipating his enemies' moves, what they might do. He hides atop the rock Etam. The Philistines, it says, come out. They start patrolling the land of Judah, their neighbors. They naturally from proximity of the Philistines to the tribes of Dan and Judah, the Philistines are their neighbors. The Philistines are the neighbors of the tribe of Dan on one side, and the Philistines of the tribe of Judah on the other side. I said on the tribe of the Judah. The Philistine territory borders the tribe of Dan and the tribe of Judah. So the Philistines come out. They come out in force, 3,000. No, not 3,000 strong, but they come out in force, hunting for Samson. And that worries the children of the tribe of Judah. So they find Samson. The Philistines spread themselves across the land, patrolling, looking for Samson. They naturally, by proximity, pass through the land of Judah. When the men of Judah inquire as to what's going on, why the Philistines are out in force, they say, yeah, your boy Samson, he done effed up. Judah don't want no beef with the Philistines. The Philistines are in control. You know, they are the top dog at this point, and they've been the top dog for like the past 20 years. They will be the top dogs for another 20 years. I'm not sure how it divides up, but the Bible says that they oppressed the children of Israel for 40 years. So when the men of Judah inquire what's up, you know, the Philistines tell the men of Judah, you know, we hunting for Samson. Judah don't want no smoke with the Philistines. They find Samson. They come 3,000 men strong. And they say, look, man, they like, you bringing too much heat down on the rest of us. You got to go. Samson makes them swear not to betray and kill him before going along quietly. But here's what I don't understand. Is Samson playing coy right now with the men of Judah? We know, or at least he knows, if he wanted to, the men of Judah wouldn't stand a chance against him. And we know Samson is savvy as hell. So is he playing coy right now? Does he really think the men of Judah will harm him? He asked them, he says, look, I'll go with you, but you have to promise me you're not gonna kill me. I don't understand for the life of me why he says that. Honestly, leave me a comment in the comment section. Is Samson playing dumb right now? Is he playing coy with the men of Judah? Because we all know if Samson snaps out, the man already has ripped a lion in half and destroyed a town. We know he can get mad and get busy. So is he up to something right now? Let me know. I'm sorry, my voice got so high. Is he up to something right now? Dead serious. Let me know what you think in the comments section. So anyway, he goes along with the men of Judah quietly. They say, we're going to bind you with 2 new ropes, and we going to deliver you into the hands of the Philistines. So we don't have this heat on our back, so we don't have them patrolling through our lands. We don't need that type of attention. We don't need that type of heat on us. Tension is already thick without you murdering innocent people. Dude, Samson by now has become he is a fugitive. The Philistines want him bad. He's like, remember Osama bin Laden? This dude then killed 30 innocent people, and then it says committed a very great slaughter in Timnath. This guy has gotten himself in the position. He is a problem. Samson is a problem for the Philistines. Do you hear me? This man is a nuisance. He is a problem. He has to be dealt with. The tribe of Judah, they cough him up. They deliver him. Judges chapter 15 verses 14 through 20 reads, and when he came to Lehi, the Philistines shouted against him, and the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and the cords that were upon his arms became as flax that was burnt with fire, and his bands loosed from off his hands. And as you see, I have this in big bold red print. Let me read this again, because we're gonna have to unpack this. This is where the meat meets the grinder. This is what it's all about right here. It says, and when he came to Lehi, that's where he's to be delivered, the Philistines shouted against him, and the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him. Okay? And the cords that were upon his arms, here's a clue, became as flax that was burnt with fire, and his bands loosed from off his hands. And he found a new I'm continuing on, and he found a new jawbone of an ass, and put forth his hand, and took it, and slew 1,000 men therewith. And Samson said, with the jawbone of an ass, heaps upon heaps. With the jawbone of an ass have I slain 1,000 men. And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking, that he cast away the jawbone out of his hand, and called that place Ramoth Lehi. And he was sore athirst, and called on the Lord, and said, Thou hast given this great deliverance into the hand of thy servant, and now shall I die for thirst, and fall into the hand of the uncircumcised. But God clave an hollow place that was in the jaw, and there came water thereout. And when he had drunk, his spirit came again, and he revived. Wherefore he called the name thereof En Hakor, which is in Lehi unto this day. And he judged Israel in the days of the Philistines 20 years. So Samson is bound and taken to Lehi, the Bible says. The Bible states that he is bound with 2 new ropes. His hands and arms are bound. Everything is going as planned. The children of Judah have come to Lehi to hand Samson over to the Philistines. But then the Bible says that the Philistines began to shout at Samson. And of course, they did. And of course, they don't like Samson. He's been a thorn in their side for some time now. And finally, they have him. They have him in their clutches. I'm just setting the scene for you. Sorry for the awkward pause. So, as Samson comes into the city, Lehi, or into the town, Lehi, they begin to shout at him and jeer at him, and of course they do, because they don't like him. He probably killed some family of a lot of people there. So of course they get to jeering and shouting at him. If you remember the old medieval movies, you know what I'm saying? How they used to throw fruit at you as they brought you into towns. You know, it was a public display of humiliation, so to speak. So the Philistines, naturally, they begin to cheer and jeer and make fun. You know, usually at events like this, citizens will, throw fruit and vegetable at you. It didn't say that happened, but, you know, from the old movies we didn't see, that was pretty common for them to do. I don't know what was said, and I don't know what was done. Maybe nothing was done at all. Okay? But somebody said something. Maybe this was even all part of Samson's plans. But by all indications, the Bible states that the Philistines began to jeer and shout at him. Somebody said something. I don't know what the insult was that they shouted, but we know how cruel people can be. Maybe somebody was like, yeah, that's why your wife sleeping with your best friend. Who knows? You know, we could toss it around back and forth in our imagination forever. What we do know, somebody said something to piss this man off. And you know, it'll piss you off especially more if a person is saying it from a place that they feel like they safe. Especially if they feel like they safe and you can't do nothing about it. That just pisses you off even more. But they don't know Samson. This man is a carefree, swashbuckling, Papa was a rolling stone, marched to the beat of his own drum. This is a vengeful and petty and spiteful man. He will go tit for tat with you all day long. So I don't know what it was that was said, but the Bible says the Spirit of the Lord came upon him mightily. So much so that the ropes that were on him, the Bible says, were like flax that had been burnt, whatever that means. We know what burnt means. You ever heard the expression, and that person got hot? That's what it seems to me happened. Samson got hot. Somebody said something awful to him that he didn't like, and he got hot. Because why else would it say the ropes that was on him became like flax? Whatever that is, became like something that was burnt. Something physical takes place here. What changed the physical characteristics of these cords? What happened biologically, scientifically? What happened with Samson that had this burning effect on the ropes that were holding him? Well, heat, obviously. If they became like they were burnt, you need heat. But where did that heat come from and why? Okay, moving on, more on that later. Anywho, imagine the shock of the men of Judah. This makes it look like they were in on it. Imagine the shock of the Philistines when 1 second this man is securely bound and the next he is free as a runaway slave. The Bible says that Samson finds a jawbone. It says, the ropes become like flax and they seem to simply fall off of him. Imagine the shock of everyone. 1 minute this dude is securely fastened and bound. He's been secure the whole trip. Everybody sees that he's bound. He's a prisoner as he's pulling up into the town. They feel empowered and emboldened enough to cheer. Hey, here he is, the fugitive, the mighty Samson. We finally got him. They start cheering. And next thing you know, he's free. Don't nobody know what's going on. The Bible says that Samson finds and picks up a new jawbone of an ass. Now, why that would just be lying around confounds me, but this lets me know that he simply grabbed the first thing he saw. He grabbed the nearest object, whatever was nearby and convenient. It didn't matter. He picked up whatever was convenient along the way between him and the Philistines. It just happened to be the jawbone of an ass. Had it been a hanger sitting there, he would have picked that up. Had it been a rock, he would have picked that up. Had it been some rolling pins, he would have picked that up. Had it been a roll of Bounty Quicker picker-upper, it just happened to be the jawbone of an ass. It's as fate would have it. I'm telling you, when the ropes came up, somebody said something to this man and pissed him off. And Samson snapped. He went straight for the Philistines and picked up the first most convenient object that was on his way to get at them Philistines. And it happened to be the jawbone of an ass, so he grabbed it and he snapped. There is no other word for it. Temporary insanity. Samson goes from Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde. And that is when bodies start to getting tossed. And I've seen it before. Not on this scale, But I've seen it before with my boy Andre. Not even with Andre. I had, back in grade school, I got jumped numerous times. It start off as only a handful of people, and then it escalates into a full, all-out bloodbath. And I'm gonna tell you exactly how it happens, because I've been jumped plenty of times. I've been a victim of the ambush. Maybe it was only 2 or 3 people, but I'm gonna tell you, it's frightening. It's terrifying initially. You gotta get your bearings about you. But that ain't what this is. This ain't a whole bunch of people jumping on Samson. This is Samson jumping on a whole bunch of people. I saw it something like this when I remember when my boy Dre got jumped. My boy Andre. What up, Dre? If you ever see this, he ain't gonna mind me telling you this story, but he was at a football game. He had to be like 16, 17. It was when starter jackets first came out. And my boy Dre got jumped for his starter jackets by the downhill boys, this gang in Gary. And they was deep that night at the football game. And it happened quickly. That's how I know with this instance with Samson. See, you don't understand. For some of y'all, maybe you ain't never been in a fight. Maybe you like, oh, Troy, you digging too deep into this. You overanalyzing it. This just said, man, please. This just said Samson killed 1,000 men. And what I'm telling you is, you may sweep that under the rug, you may brush that off, you may not even believe it. And what I'm telling you, I've seen one man fight 20 men. And it was spectacular. And so, you can't even fathom. My boy Dre got jumped, and let me tell you how it starts out. It starts out with a handful or a group. And then once the larger group see them first 3 or 4 or 5 people get knocked down or annihilated, then they come in and running to help their homeboys. That's how it happened with my boy Dre. It started out with 3 dudes ran up on him trying to steal his starter jacket. My boy Dre could fight. In his prime, I put him up against anybody in the UFC ever. And them 3 dudes learned the hard way that they wasn't gonna get Dre's starter jacket. And when the rest of the gang saw that, like 5, 6, 7 more dudes ran up, Dre got to tussling, fighting with them. The next thing you know, it was so many dudes running up on Dre. It was like the sea crashed upon him. And so I done been jumped before. And I know people like my boy Dre that's been jumped by 3, 4 times as many people as I've been jumped by. So I know how these things form and happen and escalate. I'm telling you. So after the initial shock, after the Philistines get over the initial shock of seeing Samson come up out his bonds, after the initial shock of the Philistines seeing Samson go upside the first few people's head, they like, oh hell no, and they rush him. And they get their heads bust to the white meat. Samson crack open the first few heads, probably fighting his way over towards whoever said what they said to piss him off in the first place. So he gets to cracking heads. He gets to cracking noggins. Bop, 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 bop. And as for Samson, he cracks 1 head open, then he cracks 2 heads open, then 3 heads, then 4 heads. It's like the count on Sesame Street. 1 head, 2 head, 3 head, 4 heads. You know what I'm saying? He get to bopping and a cracking and a walloping. He get into a rhythm. It be like bop, 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 bop. Bop. But he just cracking heads wide open to the white meat. He gets into a rhythm. It becomes like it's like eating Pringles. Once you eat one, you can't stop. It's like whack-a-mole. Remember at the carnival? Remember we used to go to the carnival or celebration station, that game whack-a-mole, where the moles will pop up and you gotta whack them and keep whacking them and bop, 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 bop. He starts off, gets into a rhythm and just goes insane. Cracking heads open, probably one-hitter quitters. Probably one-hitter quitters, because this dude is pissed. He is pumped. He is in a rage. He is in a frenzy. I don't know, for those of you who read the X-Men comic books, you know the character Wolverine. He goes into these berserker mind states, or like the Incredible Hulk when he goes into these Hulk rages. Look, there are Philistines rushing in. There are some rushing out. Bodies are flying. There is blood everywhere. And Samson is in a frenzy. The Philistines keep coming. And Samson says, the more the merrier. We've seen Samson do this before with one of the patterns. When he ransacked the town of Timnath. We've seen this pattern before. We've seen Samson lose his temper before. Never on this scale. Never like this. Never anything of this magnitude. You've heard in sports of how a person can get double teamed. Remember back in the day when Jordan used to play, they used to double team him. They used to sometimes triple team him. But what do you call this? 1,000 men. We're talking waves upon waves of Philistines hurling hundreds of bodies, hurling themselves into the fray, and Samson is just whack-a-moling them. He is a human tornado. They cannot stop him. This is another indication of the type of strength, or of the magnitude of the gift of this man. This 1,000 men, the Bible says, Samson slays. And unimaginable. I cannot stress this enough. As a person who done been in many fights growing up, as a person who done been jumped, who done been ambushed, I have nothing but admiration and appreciation for this ass whooping anomaly. An unimaginable contest of single armed combat against all odds. Against odds that are comical and unheard of. It is an army of Philistines versus Samson. He is literally, in every sense of the word, it is not hyperbole. He is a one-man army. He is. Literally, he is a comic book figure come right off the comic book pages. Never before has a human being lived that you can compare to Samson. You have to compare him to fictional characters that can't be proven ever existed, like Hercules, like Thor, like Superman. But this is a real life individual. 1,000 men, the Bible says he slays. An army of Philistines. If the Philistines thought Samson was a problem before, they know now That problem is too small a word. Nuisance does not accurately describe the pain and suffering he has inflicted upon these people. Samson, like Moses before him, is a weapon of mass destruction. This one man walking around on 2 feet. He has 2 arms and 2 legs and 2 eyes, just like we all do, but he is so special. And against all scientific odds understood by men, he emerges, he wins. He emerges from the dust and the ash victorious. Samson stands amidst the blood-soaked battlefield as the lone survivor. By the time he calms down, he realizes that there is no one left. He has killed everybody. He says to himself, damn, I just killed 1,000 men. Let's go back. That's literally what he says to himself. Let's go back. It says, and he found a new jawbone of an ass, and put forth his hand and took it, and slew 1,000 men therewith. And Samson said, with the jawbone of an ass, heaps upon heaps. Does that not say it all, ladies and gentlemen? He says, with the jawbone, this is after the deed is done. He's now calmed down and begun to reflect. He says, damn. He says, with the jawbone of an ass, heaps upon heaps. Well, if that don't beat all, don't that just about say it all? Heaps upon heaps, the man says. He can't even believe it. With the jawbone of an ass, have I slain 1,000 men. Even Samson cannot believe it. He has literally outdone himself. He says, with the jawbone of an ass have I slain 1,000 men. Even he is impressed. So how do we know Samson killed 1,000 men, you ask? Who counted, you ask? Well, I'll tell you how we know. 1,000 men showed up and Samson killed them all. There was no need to count. He killed everybody. Everybody there died. Samson looks back at the destruction that he has left in his wake, and he shakes his head in disbelief. 1,000 men. Samson kills 1,000 men. He kills a lion barehanded. But he uses the jawbone of an ass to 1,000 men. For all you tough guys out there, you know, you got a few notches on your belt. For all you serial killers who got 5, 10, 30 kills and puffing your chest out. 1,000 individuals, and he didn't kill them in their sleep. He didn't jump out of a bush. He snapped, picked up the jawbone of an ass on his way to the fight, handled his business mano y mano or mano to 1,000, put his dukes up, heads up, straight up. Dog, fix your dresses. You modern day killers, clutch your pearls. Fix your dresses. Sink your chest in and hold your head in shame. 1,000 men at once. For all you tough guys who thought you was tough, for all you killers who thought you was menacing, 1,000 Philistines, Samson said. Point made. It's no comparison. It's at this time I need to tell you we've come to the end of this most exciting episode. I want to thank you for joining me for this episode of Son of a Preacher Man. If you got any comments, likes, dislikes, insults, flirtations, leave them in the comment section. Want to chop it up with your boy, questions, what have you. Tell me if I'm doing a good job, bad job. Hit that like and subscribe button. And I'll see you next time. Same soap time, same soap channel. And we out. 1,000 men. Incredible. We out.